We are all also live, so you know. So anytime you want to start, we can start.
For those who have joined, we will wait until 9:05 to give everybody the opportunity to join, and then we will kick off. Okay, so it's 5 past, so we're going to kick off. So welcome everybody to this online event on water-oriented living labs to enable green transformation in a digital age, which is organized by Water Europe as a partner event to the EU Green Week 2022. My name is Dirk Krol and I'm the Executive Director of Water Europe. And for those who are less familiar with Water Europe is the voice and promoter of water-related RTD and innovation in Europe. We are a purpose-driven and value-based multi-stakeholder association with over 250 members representing the whole diversity of the water ecosystem that share a vision for building what we have coined as a European water smart society. A water smart society for us is really a society in which all the values of water are recognized and realized. All available water sources are managed in such a way that water scarcity and pollution of water resources are avoided. Water and resource loops are largely closed to foster a circular economy and optimal resource efficiency. Of course, the water system is resilient against the impacts of climate change events. And also it's a society in which all relevant stakeholders are involved in the governance of the water system. The water-oriented living labs concept has been developed by Water Europe as a key vehicle to make possible and to implement this vision for a water smart society. And it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague Andrea Rubini, who will explain you more in detail what a water smart society is and who will guide you through the agenda of today. Andrea, please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Dirk. Thank you to all the participants and speakers, the panelists of the today event on water-oriented living labs. Many thanks to the European Commission who are allowed to participate and to develop this partner event in the European Green Week 2022. I would like to share my screen, and you can imagine that the first slide will be what is about today. So it is about to make it real. To make it real, what? I mean, the water-oriented living labs, but to do what? Really to enable the green and digital transformation of Europe. As you can see, this has been organized by Water Europe in the frame of this initiative of Water Europe, which gathers, a lot of water stakeholders in the European Green Week initiative. So this is why we are here. We want to highlight how the water-oriented living labs, and you will find this word WOLLs repeated many times, not only today, but in the coming years, how this can generate the ideal multi-textual, empirical, real-world environment in the European Union and beyond EU, and the necessary systemic innovation approach to support what? To support this twin effort that is represented by the Green and Digital Europe and for a water smart society. I would say, what is a water smart society? I would say that, sorry, let's go first to a quick view of the agenda. Dirk already provided his insight and opened the event. I will drive you a bit to what is coming in this event in the coming 2 hours. We're going to have Wim van Weersen speaking about the digital aspects, particularly the digital twin in the green transformation through the water-oriented living labs. We are going to see how water-oriented living labs can create synergies between the industrial and the urban environments through our 2 leads and co-leads of the visual leadership teams of Water Europe. And then we're going to introduce the new partnership, co-founded partnership of Horizon Europe, Water for All. And our colleague, Olivier Beck, will give us insight and presentation of this important, essential partnership for the water sector and beyond the water sector. And then we'll see an example on the case of the University of Twente about a world that goes Europe and beyond Europe. And then we're going to have a panel discussion between all the speakers and try also to respond to the welcome questions coming from the audience. And then we're going to have, a conclusion, it takes away from Dirk Kroll. So, what is the water smart society? But before going here, what is Water Europe? Water Europe is the organized water voice and promoter of water-related research and development and innovation in Europe. We have more than 250 members now. Our mission is to improve the coordination and the collaboration of the water ecosystem in Europe and beyond Europe. We want to enhance the performance and the capacity of the European water ecosystem to be competitive in the global markets, in the research and innovation environment. We want to contribute to solve the global challenges of water through research and innovation and development. And our strategy is based on 2 simple approaches. Number 1 is a multi-stakeholder association. So we cover the whole water value chain, The other issue that is important to take into account is that Water Europe is a value-based organization, which is the basis is action and is philosophy and operational modality on the water vision of Water Europe. So, what is a water smart society? I think this is not a water smart society. This is some recent picture taken in northern Italy, in Piedmont region. I think that I went to this lake, a number of times in my life. It's completely dry. I think this is not a water smart society. And once again, I think this is not a water smart society. This is the worst way to manage water. So it is not a society of water represents our invaluable and not replaceable resource for all, for our life, for work, for business, for research, for whatever. It's really our life. So what is a water smart society? So it's a society, but let's have a number of focuses. So in a water smart society, the true value of water is recognized and analyzed. And once again, the true value of water, it is not the cost of water, it's what we can do with water. How this water can represent the essential factor for a healthy society. It's a place, the water smart society, or it's an environment, it's a context where water resources are managed in order to avoid scarcity and pollution. It's a place, it's an environment, it's a context, it's a system where loops are widely closed in order to foster a circular economy and to enhance the efficiency of resources, not only water. And it's also a place where all the stakeholders are on board in the governance of the water system. And the last but not least, where the water systems are resilient against the impact of the climate change and on the other hand, can contribute in order to support those actions that can mitigate and adapt the climate change impacts and effects. Well, what is a water-oriented living lab? I think that many of you might have already heard concepts running around living labs. Living labs are real-life contexts from any angle. What you see is that living labs are essentially based on the concept of the open innovation, the quadruple helix, where we have on board the public bodies, the governing bodies, the knowledge institutes, the research institutes, the private actors, which is the business, and the citizens, so the society. So all the society is on board of a system that it is supposed to collectively take decisions and in a sustainable way. What is a water-oriented living lab? A water-oriented living lab are water innovation ecosystems, where we promote in these systems the co-creation, the testing, the evaluation of innovations in a representative real life environment, so it's not theory, with the ultimate aim of realizing with different contributions a water smart society. So you can see that the pathway from living labs to water-oriented living labs passes through the achievement of a water smart society. Now, what is next? The first step that we took starting 2018, we published the first ever made attempt of organizing in a document and to take the stock of the water-oriented living labs in Europe, using a methodology for the assessment, for the categorization, to identify the level of maturity, and this originated, gave us a result, the publication of the first atlas of the EU water-oriented living labs, in which we identified 105 water-oriented living labs and were categorized on the basis of their main performances and settings. What is next now? What is next? Well,
Andrea,
we are evolving.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Apparently, your presentation is not advancing, so you are at the same achievement of a water smart society.
That's strange. Can I go back? Is it here?
Here it was, yes, here it
Okay.
was.
I don't know why. Anyway,
Thank you.
let me quickly recap. In 2018 and 2019, particularly in 2019, we published the first atlas of the water-oriented living labs. We identified 105 water-oriented living labs at the time with a number of different performances, maturity settings, and this originated in the first stock and the first attempt ever made to put together the water-oriented living labs in one publication. Then we didn't stop there. We went further. And what is next? What is next is the new Water Europe notebook series on water-oriented living labs. And we started with the series 1, which is the definition that provides the definitions, the practices, and the assessment methodologies in order to identify the best methodology to assess water-oriented living labs. So this will support the Water Europe strategy for the development of a network of water-oriented living labs for the implementation of a Water Europe vision that points at the achievement of water smart society for a green and digital Europe. But this is only the first one, but we have also a series number 2, and you can imagine also if we have a series 2, there will be 3, 4, 5. So, but now let's see, the series 2, what it's about. The series 2 is how to assess and evolve towards a network of water-oriented living labs. And this provides practical guidelines for the identification, the assessment, evolution, engagement, and networking of water-oriented living labs. This is a manual. It's really a guideline. It's a user manual for all those parties. And then we see we're going to have a number of organized and structured parties to carry out this task. We want to drive the research, the development, the business, and the governing process in the direction of a water smart society and embed what is important, the water smart innovation in our society using the water-oriented living labs as a concept for the green and digital transformation of Europe. Now, really in a nutshell, this is the step water-oriented living lab assessment methodology, for which we have the mapping, we have the assessment, and then we have the evaluation maturity of the water-oriented living lab and planning possible improvements. We are going to use the harmonization cube. That was a methodology used to develop an assessment living labs. And for the time being, we saw that this is the best available methodology today, and it creates the opportunity of basing the assessment on 6 fundamental elements, let's say 6 metrics, which is the governance, the service creation, the infrastructures, the methods and the tools, the users' involvement, and the innovation outcomes. And then we have, for each of the 6 phases of the cube, we have sub-definition that helps really in details to provide the level of maturity, the level of settings of the water-oriented living labs under assessment. This will generate, you can see, it's a recap of the metrics, to the user, the service, the infrastructure, the governance, the innovation, and the methodology. This originates a scoring for which it's pretty easy. What we do is that on a number of questions, we ask or we interview the water-oriented living labs, the potential water-oriented living labs, asking a number of questions, and the reply will be just yes or no. And this will support us in creating the output, which is the maturity assessment. As you can see, we have the water-oriented living labs maturity scoring and the maturity levels per fundamental element, so per each and every metric. This is just, it's just an overview. Then, details will be available in the publications. Now, what water-oriented living labs offer? We really offer, they really offer a new setting, a new model. A new model for what? For inclusive green and digital governance. It's a new model for the good design and the citizen engagement is a new model that is flexible, which is adaptable, that can support the financial and societal sustainability of research, development, and innovation in the water sector and related sectors. It enhances the flexibility, the dynamicity, and the market uptake of innovations. This for what? In order to achieve a water smart society for the green and digital Europe. Next steps. That's from today's onward. That's June the 1st, 2022, but a lot of work has been done so far in the past years and months. For information, Water Europe leads the Pillar D of the Horizon Europe funded partnership, Water for All, that aims at demonstrating in the Pillar D the scalability of innovation through the water-oriented delivery labs approach and implementation. And this will be also given more in details by Olivier Beck later today. So, what we are going to do in Water for All, and what we are going to do in Water Europe, in Europe and beyond Europe for the water-oriented living and water smart society. We are going to identify, categorize, engage with existing WOLLs. We are going to support the development and the sustainability of existing water-oriented living labs and the creation of new WOLLs. We're going to create a network of water-oriented living labs that will be useful to rationalize effort to achieve with a common consensus, common resources, with a critical mass of a water smart society, still, however, in the support of the green and digital transformation of Europe. And what we want to do through water-oriented living labs activities in Water for All is to support the demonstration of systemic water-related innovations and the scalability of those innovations for the market uptake. So from research to the deployment of innovation in a real environment. And then there is much more that will come and much more that has been done so far. May I thank you for your attention. Stay tuned with us on the water-oriented living labs. And well, I mean, that's all from my side. We'll be happy to respond to your questions in the panel discussion, in the question and answer time. And I'm happy to leave the floor to the director of Panarchia, Professor Wim van Beersen. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning. I hope you can hear me. My name is Wim van Beersen. I spent 45 years in the water sector, and by now I'm an independent consultant working on my own. And actually, for the last few years, I have been working with two different Water Europe members, being Aveka de Bond, being an engineering firm of an international building company, a Dutch one, and Wings ICT Solutions. It's a Greek IT company. So what we try to do is to combine the skills into what has become Ditto, a digital twin company that combines water knowledge and IT knowledge into something we called a digital twin. And I would like to explain to you how we combine the digital with the water-oriented living lab concept. And the subtitle of my presentation is Why Water Infrastructure Matters. Now, of course, the idea is that we are working from a water smart society perspective, and in the world I'm living in, of this building company and these water boards, it's a society in which the value of water is clearly recognized. It's sustainably managed in a holistic and circular way. So that also applies to the water infrastructure, to secure access to water and its productive power. So all the other aspects than simply drinking water or purification of wastewater. And specifically, this building company is working on minimizing the destructive effects with effective infrastructure. So to keep performing under short-term stress of climate change and shocks like flash floods and similar sort of things, and adapting to long-term uncertainties. And of course, the overall aim of these water infrastructures are resulting in the overall protection of society against water-related risks. Now, what needs to be done, of course, in the society we're living in, with these complex nexus sort of approaches and problems, we need integration of knowledge and data, but also sharing, because the public wants to be involved. The stakeholders, public stakeholders, want to be involved in coming up with solutions. So we need to gain insight into spatial and temporal environmental factors. Of course, we have a lot of data which are available, but we have to bring all these data together to make optimal use of public data, but also data from commercial projects. Now, we need to meet the increasing demand for coherence, transparent governance, controllability, traceability. So what has been decided in the past, what were the criteria infrastructure had to meet in the past, and is infrastructure still optimally geared towards the needs of the future with climate change, etc., etc. So we have to design, build, and operate smarter water systems on water infrastructure. They need to be more flexible and specifically more adaptive and more resilient. Now, of course, you have these techniques like artificial intelligence and machine learning. We want to have real-time insights into the present state of infrastructures, and we need to share it with the public. And in Europe, it's very important, we are acting from a precautionary principle. And I would like to refer to two different interesting publications. One is from Francis Fukuyama. You may know his name. He wrote a book on Statebuilding, and he explains that different nations have different concepts and the implementation of the ideas of scope and strength. Scope, I mean, on in how many areas one is the government directing developments. So the minimal set of requirements would be defense industry, things like that. In Europe, we have more the social democrat type of and the Rhineland type of model, where we think the welfare of people is also of the interest of the state as well. Now, are you able to have a wide scope and develop enough strengths in these different areas to build a sustainable society? That's very interesting, and specifically for the water sector, because in Europe we have a dominance of public regulation, and in Europe as well. And if you compare that, for instance, to the United States, where we have this tort liability idea, as long as it doesn't damage to the public, everything is fine. And there's a recent book from 2020, The Brussels Effect, in which Arno Bradford explains the specific position of Europe in the world. And look at the undertitle, it says, How the European Union Rules the World. Now, big words, but it's very interesting to read about the specific position of Europe in all these sort of things. Now, of course, as I said, Europe is acting from a precautionary principle. That is a very important precondition for building water-related infrastructure. Citizens' involvement in the cost-benefit analysis of major water management investments is very important. And climate change effects as a real-life test case is very important. Now, if you take that into consideration, then you can see where governance meets digital governance. You could say that WOLLs, water-oriented living labs, as a demo and platform type of environments, are very important as an environment where you can test different solutions from all the options we have. And of course, the design, build, and operate, it's a domain where digital twins, where you integrate artificial intelligence and domain models like hydrological models and hydraulic models with real-time data from sensors to make live digital copies of the water system, including its physical infrastructure. And a very prominent characteristic of a digital twin is that they change with their physical counterparts. So you have a real life insight into the reliability of your infrastructure. Now, of course, we have multi-purpose water infrastructure, optimizing of the multifunctionality of water systems, like drinking water, industrial water, in a river basin context. And of course, we have to provide a safe environment, a precautionary attitude towards future risks of droughts and, as I said, floods. And of course, we have to find solutions in close consultations with citizens, because larger infrastructure, as you can see on the right-hand side, the storm surge barrier in the lower right-hand side in the Netherlands, the waterway to the harbor of Rotterdam, it's a huge infrastructure. These arms have the size of the height of the Eiffel Tower, for instance. So it's an impact on the environment and the regional environment, so citizens need to be involved. Now, in building water infrastructure, there's a green aspect. It's we usually forget about that. If you build with concrete, there's a heavy impact on the CO2, because concrete costs a lot of CO2 and produces a lot of CO2 in making it. And in many building activities, we have a building information modeling tool. It started in 2D dimensions as a historical basis of structural modeling. The X and Y axis, hand-drawn shape, things like that. We are talking about 75 to 100 years ago. And it developed into what we now call 7D BIM, is a building information modeling system where you know everything about the environmental costs of all the components, the mineral components, but also other components of your infrastructure. Its life cycle analysis details, everything is being included. So it means that we know the environmental impact of our water-related infrastructure. So that is on the design of water infrastructure. It's part of what we call the green building information modeling of the future. Now, about the digital twin context, it goes back to the 1970s, before, I would say, avant la lettre. There was this accident with this Apollo 13 mission, where there exploded an oxygen tank. And actually, this was the first time where, in hindsight, the digital twin approach was applied to bring these astronauts back. And I have a small film to explain what a digital twin is.
When NASA built its first digital twin in 1970 for the launch of Apollo 13, it could not have imagined that decades later, this innovative technique would become common practice in the aircraft and manufacturing industry. Time for Aveco de Bont and Wings ICT Solutions to partner up in a joint venture called Ditto and bring this great technology to water management systems, helping you to predict maintenance, save costs, and extend the lifespan of critical water infrastructures. Digital twins are living digital copies of physical infrastructures that change along with their physical counterparts. They integrate advanced real-time data management with building information modeling, artificial intelligence, and machine learning techniques, providing countless options to gain valuable insights and to control processes. For example, a digital twin allows you to subject existing flood defense infrastructures to virtual stress tests. This way, you will get clear insights on the impact on, for example, reliability and maintenance when it comes to rising sea levels, droughts, or more frequent storms. As a global water infrastructure specialist, Aveco de Bont and Wings ICT Solutions help you establish a concrete, step-by-step roadmap for the realization of a digital twin for your infrastructure. Together, we can improve efficiencies throughout the entire chain of design, realization, and operation of water management systems, like lock gates, dikes, and pumping stations, up to the largest, most complex barriers, such as the Dutch Maasland barrier. The digital twin provides awareness of the as-built situation, as well as operational awareness of the actual behavior of the infrastructure, giving you a head start on climate change.
Okay, so this gives you an example of what we call point infrastructure, digital twins in context of a large water infrastructure and a water system. Now, the second application for digital twins is the scenario planning in a more spatial environment. And so this is the case, and you see these two little maps. You see the Netherlands. And then you see this cluster rain. It's actually the case is a heavy rainfall scenario event. It is a historical one from July 2021 in Germany, more than 200 millimeters of rainfall in 3 days. And of course, we had heavy flooding and casualties. And the position of this cluster rain you see in the left picture, in the left lower side of the screen. Now, what we did, we applied it to the northern part of the Netherlands in a what-if scenario. Now, suppose this cluster rain would have occurred in the Lake IJssel area, so it's a low-lying area in the north, in the center of the Netherlands. And we integrated the water system data, so groundwater, surface water, sewerage system, public data on land use, infrastructure, and we looked for the impacts, hotspots for safety, transportation, access, damage, etc. So what we actually did, we built a digital twin, and we discussed with the inhabitants of one of the cities there what would happen if this cluster rain would have occurred in their domain. So we included all these different parts of the water system, and then we start modeling, and you see the small results here. So what you have seen is that is a visualization of all the calculations we made. And of course, it took a lot of effort to bring all the public data together from these different segments of the environment. But eventually, because of the way we calculated this, we were able, in a session with people, to do this real life and to really show them the hotspots in the city where they could expect serious flooding. Now, what are the takeaway messages? I think Europe has a unique approach in identifying smart water solutions in close consultations with its citizens. Very important is precautionary principle, and that means that we have to bring all this information together to really share. And WOLLs can be an effective instrument to engage citizens in a real-life setting to discuss possible outcomes of events I just showed to you. Digital twins can be a successful instrument for scenario planning and the identification of options for solutions. Well, and then the end, combining WOLLs with digital twins serves the purpose of establishing a water smart society with engaged citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wim. Excellent presentation with a lot of inputs and food for brain. Not only about water and labs, about really the future of the digital transformation of Europe in the Green Deal. Now I'm happy to give the floor to Arnaud Jullens, who is the program coordinator for climate in the city of Mechelen in Belgium. Arnaud is also the leader of the Water Europe Vision leadership teams on water smart cities. And I kindly invite Arnaud to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Andrea, for the introduction. I will now share my screen. So hopefully you can see it now. in full screen mode. So thank you. As said, we are the VLT Water Smart Cities, and so we think about what the previous speaker said, but we fly it in from a perspective of the cities. So shortly, I will introduce ourselves, the VLT Water Smart Cities. Then next, what we do with the VLT is first we make a vision of what is a water smart city. I think we already discussed quite a bit this morning, but discussion and vision is only good if we do something with it, if we bring it to alive. And there the concept of the WOLLs is critical, I think. It's critical to change the practice, how we do things today, to look in a different way at our water management, considering the challenges we're facing, and then a few elements experienced from the ground. So our vision leadership team, Water Smart Cities, is myself, and then Barbara Anton as the vice chair from ICLEI, and then David and Armando. We're very proud of this team because we have actors from different sides. We have actors from the civil society. Myself, I work for local government, so a city of 86,000 inhabitants. David works for a water company, as Armando does. So we have the different perspectives on how we can build the city together. And I think if we take anything away from this, it's about partnerships. At a local level, we realize that it will be impossible for us to think as the government will fix it all. That is totally impossible. So we need to build partnerships with all actors. But the basis of this partnership should be a value-driven. As Andreas said, the core idea for a water smart city is that everybody recognizes the water as the indispensable resource that it is. A resource that is in stress because of climate change, societal change, demographic challenges. And we believe that the response to these challenges should be local. It should be the smart, water smart city. And that the local government not so much has to do everything, but is more of a director, of a conductor of this, of a facilitator of these actions. So the first thing we did was drafting this vision. And so how do we see a water smart city? What are our key elements according to us? I have to warn, it's only in draft version, so it could change a little bit, but I think the lines are quite clear. I think for us, it's important to know what is coming, to be able to forecast the water quality and quantity, to be able to operate in a reliable legal framework. And I think that is also the key role why we believe in Water Europe, is to build a European framework that can translate into local strong legal frameworks that we can not only as a local authority make it clear for inhabitants, but also create a clear investment playing field. What should be invested, what should be done is the resilient and flexible infrastructure. We're building infrastructures that are maybe not ready today for the change that is coming. In Mechelen, we identified very clearly that drought and flooding will be the challenges next to heat stress, urban heat stress, that we will face from an adaptation point of view. So it's a water story. And very often even the heat story is a water story, because if you look at the type of measures you can do, it's always measures that boil down to the green-blue infrastructures, where we're building today maybe a little bit gray infrastructures, see how we can make them more green and blue, because it's not about climate, it's not about adaptation, it's not about water, it's about people and nature, it's about making them healthy. So that's one of the key elements. And it's about livability. It's about building better cities where water is a place for recreation instead of a threat. It's an opportunity. But that requires another way of thinking, another way of looking at it. This is the smart component coming in. We still have to pinpoint exactly what we understand under this smart component. So that's why the vision is a little bit still in draft. But I think the health is key there. So as I said, this is the challenge of the vision, how we see our city. And we think local government, because I often call us the face of government. We are the part of government that the people see, that the people know, that they literally meet in their streets. Not only the people, the inhabitants, but also all the actors. So we are the ones, I think, we should take the role of bridging the goals and activities of different actors. Managing our stakeholders. It's in the different projects we're doing today as water-oriented living labs. This is the one where we see that it's crucial. We can no longer sit in our ivory tower of the city hall, but we have to get into the field and talk with all the different actors and build new governance models. New models of thinking. It should only be the government top-down who runs the water system, but together with the stakeholders on the terrain, we need to validate their local knowledge as well. With the recent floodings, we experienced that there is a lot of knowledge on the terrain on how water works, and that there needs to be good communication lines between the terrain actors, for example, farmers or other water boards, on how the water system works. Our emergency response services need to interact with them. So it's not about decision making from outside, but together, and also building what I call water competence for citizens. And it ranges, it starts from this attitude, from this value as water as an indispensable resource, because we can do a lot on our own, on our public infrastructures, but a large portion of the land is owned, run, and operated by citizens. So we try to get them on board as well. And I think local government, being the face of government, is a good example of that, or a good catalyst for these actions. So this makes it not easier. It's very easy to say comprehensive and holistic, doing it in a holistic way. On the train, it's still quite difficult to get all the actors together, but I think it will be the only way forward, and the unique role of cities and communities. So we believe these areas, the WOLL areas, is the area where we can do the innovation and green transformation. Very often we are, the way we're designing and building our water infrastructure is a business as usual. So we need to challenge this business as usual and bring new ways in. And I think that's why the urban WOLLs or the WOLLs are very interesting. So that the city can have a positive impact. We're now just starting a project together with the city of Tilburg, where Tilburg is experimenting on how can the city become a source for water for adjacent drying out natural areas, instead of being a flood, having everything into the rivers, feeding it back into the nature. I think also the WOLLs it's an area for innovation, and this innovation can then become the new business as usual. And it's a way, and I think, again, the key is partnerships. It's a way to bridge the gap between the actors. But the WOLL will be the one that is the first one before we scale up. We do a new business as usual, and we have a new way of thinking. For example, and I was very much pleased to hear Wim also talking about the digital twin from an infrastructure point of view. How can you make digital twins from infrastructure, but also from a city point of view? He very nicely pointed out these two different things. Again, for us here, it's the partnership that is key. We collaborate with the private sector to see, okay, good. We are not the data experts and the digital twin experts that build something together, but do it as a partnership. Not you as a subcontractor or a contractor for us. No, as a partnership. We're building a platform, and data is a resource, is something you can bring into the market. So that will be your part, and our part is how can we build a better city based on this data? How can we put all these different layers on top of each other to make data into information? And I think that is the step where we very often are still struggling to contextualize data and to have lists of information and lists of data, and to bring it into information where policymakers, our local decision makers, can really act on the long term to make policy, but also, and I think that's the one where the forecasting will be very important, to be very short, because we will be confronted with more extreme events, very short this decision making, very almost real time, where we can have the information coming in and saying, okay, this is going to run, what scenario are we going to put on this, where all the actors can talk together. And I think a city, very often it's the urban area we think of, but the city in our case is part of a larger network where we need to discuss together with farmers who are very close to the city in our cases, how they're going to operate the water, how we're going to do this together with nature organizations who run the larger natural areas or other natural operators, with the companies together. I think these private sector collaborations will be crucial. I haven't looked into it for the water, for example, for the carbon dioxide and the CO2 story. As a city, we have 1% of the emissions. 99% is citizens, companies, industry, mobility. So it's key to do together with them. We cannot, as the Ivory Tower, do it alone. We need to build strong partnerships with these partners and also with the knowledge partners, and to bridge the gap, because I think the bridging of the gap between the knowledge partners, who very often have good ideas, strong concepts, but have difficulty bringing them into the field, and our perspective, where we do the business as usual, but we have difficulty in bringing in innovation. Well, it's this cross section where the WOLLs can make the difference for us. We have this experience with the natural operators, as I said. We have also with the farmers this experience. We are experiencing the same thing in our urban areas. So it's the togetherness that is important. And last but not least, I think we also, as the VLT, want to take this opportunity to ask, because, as I said, our action plan is first we draft the vision, we finalize, validate the vision, and then the next step is to make an inventory of all WOLLs, to have these good examples circulating as much as possible, so we can investigate them, document them, and get them going around, so the business as usual can change. So if anyone listening to or present here has good ideas, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to get them to us via Water Europe, directly to me. I put my details on this slide. It's only if we also, the audience here, if we all work together and get the information flowing, that we will be able to tackle the challenges that our water system is currently facing. So I would like to thank you a lot from our perspective. And again, if you take one thing away for what we as the VLT want to say, it's partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I mean, I also found, I mean, a lot of interesting keywords. I mean, in particular, the matter that partnerships are key in the sustainable development in the urban, and all in the urban environments. But now, for instance, we are going to another environment which is not, of course, disconnected in Europe from the urban environment. That is the industrial context. And then what we see in Europe, that it's pretty common to find urban industrial setups that share a minimum area, are interconnected, mutually dependent on a number of factors. That could be water, it could be energy, that could be sharing a territory and managing the territory in a sustainable way. And to this end, and to enter into the industrial water and environment, I am keen to invite to take the floor to Michael Rovira, who is a member of the Water Europe Regional Leadership Team, the Water Smart Industry, and he works for as a director of sustainability in ECAT, which is the technology organization, technology center of Catalonia. Miguel, you're welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and good morning. Can you see the presentation? I hope all is fine now. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So, well, Andrea, thank you for your introduction, and it is a real pleasure to try to give now the perspective after the Arnaud presentation on how the industry, the water use industry, can contribute to the water smart society. So we are sure that industrial symbiosis is one of the main issues that we need to take into account from the industrial perspective. And also we are convinced that water-oriented living labs are the main tool to shift this water resilience. But before going into detail on WOLLs, water-oriented living labs, I would like to say something about industrial symbiosis, and also I think that water footprint and supply chain analysis, as well as sustainable development goals, we think that also can help on this goal. So I also would like to say something about these concepts. So first of all, some general facts about industrial water. Water is fundamental in the industry. In fact, is a commodity for manufacturing and the production processes. In the industry, in any production process, you need water. In more or less extent, you need water for fabrication, processing, washing, cleaning, diluting, cooling, product transportations, even for the use of employees. Industry is in fact one of the main water users in Europe, and we need also to recognize that industry may pollute water, and together with agriculture and the municipal use. But it's true that usually industry introduce like a new and more complex molecule because usually industry tries to develop new products and they use a huge variety of compounds that usually makes the industrial pollution complex. And another point is that the companies, even if they are located in non-arid countries, that they start to realize they increase the awareness regarding water because, for example, government companies operating in water-scarce regions, they realize that the production process sometimes are in risk. So we see industrial wastewater and water as a complex issue, but also as a byproduct. And here we see a great opportunity for industrial symbiosis, which is the key to reach this smart water society. So let's say some few words on industrial symbiosis. This concept appears when companies cooperate, companies are engaged, separate industries in a collective approach involving physical exchange of materials, energy, byproducts, but also water. We need to see water as something, as I said before, with high value. We have the value of water itself, but also usually we find energy and materials together with wastewater. And industrial symbiosis is considered today a key strategy to the transition to a green economy, but also the digital dimension is important. For example, just to give an example, the web-based service that allows the change of products and flows among companies clearly improve when you have these digital opportunities. And of course, the digital twin will also make things easier and will promote for sure the industrial symbiosis. Water footprint, we think this is an important point to be considered when we talk about symbiosis and a water smart society, because when you analyze the water footprint of a product is when you realize that maybe you have like new stakeholders that were not present at the beginning. For example, in a smartphone, for the smartphone production, you need like 12 cubic meters. And if a company producing smartphones analyze the water footprints, will find, I'm sure, new opportunities for water symbiosis, maybe with partners or stakeholders that are far from the production. So this is something that we cannot forget. And we see water footprint analysis as an opportunity for water symbiosis. Like sustainable development goals, they are formulated as individual goals, but we have interaction among them. For example, if we see the sustainable development goals 6 and 7, water and energy, we see how they may create synergies or also trade-off. So if we produce energy, for example, and we don't consider the key issues regarding water management, we will find trade-off, but also we may find synergies among them. So we encourage to find this analysis, which is still not well understood among sustainable development goals, in order to promote water symbiosis. But going into detail to the water living labs, these are very important in case of industry. Unfortunately, in a recent survey of Water Europe, we have identified that we only have few, as you can see in the graph, only have few industrial water living labs, and often they are immature, maybe because sometimes companies are not conscious about what they are doing, and probably they have living labs that are not recognized formally. And it's necessary to evolve the concept of living lab from the experimental laboratories to real ecosystems for experimentation and real market applications. And now I would like to give a real example in the context of the ultimate project, in which we have Water Europe and Eurecat together with some other partners involved. And this is a project which is based on the use of, on the concept of community of practice together with with living labs. And in this project, basically, we try to see water as a source of reclaimed water, a source of energy, a source of materials, and we promote the symbiosis between different industrial sectors you can see in the slide, together with service providers. And one of the demo sites we have in the project is a Tarragona case in Spain. We can consider that is a successful case, but this is not still a living lab. It is a clear potential living lab. And now I just would like to say a few words about this. In Tarragona, in the area of Tarragona, we have, which is in the northeast of Spain, we have an important petrochemical area that depends on the water from the Ebro River. Ebro River is the largest in Spain. It flows to the Mediterranean in the Delta del Ebro. Okay, it's a nice area. If you don't know, I recommend to visit this place. And what we have here is that we have two contrasting territories. From one side, we have the Camp de Tarragona with the metropolitan area of quite big cities, Tarragona and Reus, with an economy based on industry, tourism, and agriculture. We have these sectors competing for water. Remember, we are in the Mediterranean. This means water scarcity and the scenarios foreseen by climate change that says that water availability will decrease. And then in the south, 100 kilometers in the south, we have Terras del Ebre, a subregion with an economy based on the primary sector. And we have the Delta Ebro, which is categorized as a natural park and protected by UNESCO, as Biosphere Reserve Network. So the situation is that the petrochemical area and the area in Tarragona takes water from an artificial water transfer from the Delta del Ebro, which is a very sensitive area due to salinization, due to the lack of sediments, and which is an area endangered due to the sea rise level, due to climate change. So we have the Delta del Ebro with this, which is a crucial ecosystem. The water from the Delta del Ebro goes to the petrochemical and to the Tarragona area. And the point is that climate change is a real goal and deal in the area because of the sea rise level, as I said before. And in fact, we have established very recently a living lab, an ecosystem-based living lab in the area to help this area to survive to the climate change dangers and to adapt to climate change in a proper way. So we have the connection with this living lab in the Delta del Ebro with the Tarragona area, with, as I said before, with a lot of touristic activity, agriculture, big cities, and especially the industrial production in the petrochemical park, which is the biggest one in the south of Europe. Okay, so the point is that from 2012, an advanced water reclamation plant is working in the area, and the water is a nice example of synergy because the water from the cities, from the Tarragona and Vilaseca, the wastewater treatment plant from the cities is treated and is used in the petrochemical complex, which at the same time is recirculating water. And this is very easy to show, but there is a long history behind. And this is, we think, a real successful case. This is the history of a success alliance for the creation of a water management company in the petrochemical park that was formed with the participation of all the chemical companies in the area. Okay, the research and innovation has been crucial because the scalability of the treatments is important, and you need to demonstrate in a real environment that the treatment will work. Remember that we are in the petrochemical industry, and water requirements are very high. Basically, they use the water for boilers and cooling, but also from some other applications. Citizen involvement has been important because the awareness of people regarding water is very important in Spain. And this project is in continuous expansion. Now The plant is under ampliation, is expanding. So there are many challenges in the area that are going on, and there are many challenges even from other applications in addition to the industrial one. So the situation is that we think that these actions are helping Delta del Ebro to survive against the threat of climate change, but at the same time, these actions allow to have a compatibility between tourism, agriculture, chemical industry, and of course the municipalities. So just as a very, very fast conclusions, we are sure that water smart industry offers great opportunities for the water smart society in connection with other sectors. Always the environmental challenges are complex and interlinked with social and economic issues. In this case, we are connecting a protected area with a petrochemical park. The early stage water technologies require scalability. We need prototype development and commercialization. Living labs are a good environment for this. And private-public funding and appropriate policies are necessary to break the barriers to water innovation. So we are sure, we are convinced that the complexity of living of the industrial water can be overcome with living labs. And probably you know this proverb, African proverb, that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we are convinced that we can say that if you want to go fast, go alone, but also if you want to go far, conceptualize a living lab, and probably you will reach further. So here you have my email for any contact you want to do, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Michael. Well, I mean, amazing proverb. I mean, if you want to go far, conceptualize a living lab. I mean, this is
why not? Why not?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you want to go fast, I mean, go alone, but it is not said that you will go somewhere then. So it's yes. I mean, I fully appreciate the matter that we are in a voluntary lab conceptualize. I mean, the cooperation principle, the collaboration principle, and the engagement of multi-stakeholders in around, I mean, the possible solution for the water management, which is now is not any longer an option since a long time. I would say it's not any longer an option, but it's a must. It's an absolute must. And but then, I mean, during the panel discussion, there is some questions I'd like to ask to both you and Arnaud about the synergy between these two environments, this context, I mean, the industrial and the cities. But now I would like to ask Olivier Beck from the French National Agency for Research, and Olivier is the coordinator of Water for All, which is, as I said in the beginning, it is a long-term co-funded partnership under Horizon Europe, which has a really ambitious agenda. That as Water Europe, leading the pillar D of this partnership, we fully support and believe in. And now I would like to ask to Olivier to start his presentation, and I'm happy to give you the floor. I think that
thank you very much, Andrea.
Okay. I think, Miguel, can you stop sharing your screen?
So that I can share mine, exactly.
Thank you so much, Olivier. The floor is yours.
All right. So thank you for the introduction, Andrea. Well, indeed, as said, Waterfall is a partnership co-funded by the European Commission under Horizon Europe. So we're on the research innovation side, but the idea is indeed to have research innovation irrigating actual use and uptake by all actors. And the demonstration aspect, including in particular the water-oriented living labs, are an integral pillar to the waterfall activities. I'm going to present this in a moment. So Waterfall is, as said, co-funded by the European Commission with the partners from the countries. We are gathering a variety of actors, funders for research innovation, but also policymakers, representatives of economic actors like clusters, EU networks like Water Europe, or also a number of research performing organizations. This partnership should give us a medium to long-term perspective on research innovation on water, since we will be active for the whole duration of Horizon Europe. We are still in the process of discussing our contract with the Commission, but we decided to launch our activities as of today. So that's this event is the first one where the partnership is officially active. And the activities that we'll be launching until 2028 may lead us until 2032. Since in particular we'll launch annual calls for projects, and obviously the project that will be funded in 2028 may last for a few years. We are currently gathering more than 70 partners from 29 countries, and the ambition is to have the consortium grow over time to reach additional partners and include additional countries, including outside the European Union. Basis for Waterfall is exactly what Arnaud and Michael described, is that the actors of water management are insufficiently connected, and the knowledge community is often unable to lead its knowledge or lead its innovation to the field. And the actors for actual management of water, water users, authorities, are often unaware of the possibilities that knowledge and science are offering. So the aim of the partnership is to concentrate this landscape of research, innovation, and uses of water in Europe and beyond, so that we can enable in the long term water security for all. We want to have these various actors of water meet together to have the solutions actually transferred and taken up on the field, on the market. Obviously, this necessitates a holistic approach across all aspects concerned with water. Policy aspects, environment, obviously, economic, technological, societal aspects. So 360 degrees view on water issues. We have developed a strategic research innovation agenda that covers all aspects of fresh water. And we identified the 5 key themes for research innovation, plus 2 cross-cutting themes. So the first theme is water for circular economy. That's exactly what Michael just presented, for instance. The second theme is water for ecosystems and biodiversity. Third theme is about sustainable water management. And there we're speaking both about surface water and groundwater. The fourth theme is about water and earth, and the last theme is water infrastructure. And the cross-cutting issues to be addressed with these 5 themes are international cooperation and governance aspects, as it was already said, and that's the heart of water-oriented living labs, governance is key to an efficient management of water and sustainable management of water. There I'm extracting, my apologies if it's the writing is a bit hard to read. I'm extracting part of the strategy map for Waterfall. We'll have a number of activities, and this extract shows the pathways to our expected outcome about enhancing the field market use of innovative solutions to water challenges. So water living labs are really part of this, with the design and implementation of participatory development of innovation, the support to demonstration activities, but also the coordination of research innovation activities, the sharing of knowledge, and the capacity development of all actors. So really, this enhancement of field use involves various kinds of activities, various dimensions that the water living labs are contributing to reach. The other specific objectives that Waterfall is willing to achieve is obviously the delivery of sound knowledge and tools and evidence basis for policy and decision making, the improvement of the consideration of water impacts in all relevant policies to avoid thinking in silos and integrating water properly in all sectoral activities, and the increase of citizens' engagement in an inclusive water governance. And well, obviously, water living labs also contribute to these other objectives. I'm here also only highlighting the one focusing on markets and field use of innovations. So as I said, Waterfall will conduct a variety of activities organized around 5 pillars. The first pillar is the publication of the strategic agenda and the alignment of activities at all levels, regional, national, European levels. So around the strategic agenda of Waterfall, we will try to convince the various levels of actors to work in similar directions and to share their efforts to reach to deliver significant results against the themes of this agenda. Pillar B is about the generation of knowledge through research innovation projects. So as said, we will issue joint transnational calls for fostering collaboration and partnerships within the European and international water research innovation community. So to have teams actually collaborate together. Pillar C is about the transfer of this knowledge to the policymakers and to the end users with activities like support to startups, formation, capacity building, vocational training, but also an important aspect about the management of water data and how to gather in a single entry point as many water data as possible. Pillar E is about the international dimension, and I'm finishing with Pillar D about the demonstration of solutions and their efficiency. So that's where we will have a strong focus on water living labs and connecting them into a network and supporting the uptake on the market of solutions that will have been demonstrated potentially through living labs. So I'm detailing this in the next 2 slides. Why living labs in Waterfall? Well, it's been already well presented by all the previous speakers. the water-oriented living labs are perfect ecosystem for validating innovations in real-life conditions. We will work with a variety of scales, from pilot to full scales, and a variety of contexts. It's extremely important that solutions can be replicated. Hence, the European dimension of water for all, or I should even say international dimension of water for all, gives the possibility to test the solutions and the innovation in many contexts, so that their relevance can be verified. Living labs allow to address both technical and non-technical challenges. So governance is a key learning area for water management, and living labs provides useful support for this. So governance and the uptake of solutions by stakeholders can be tested on such sites. We'll also assess the financial aspects and financial sustainability of living labs through the analysis of various settings, the various ways the living labs are implemented. And these living labs are a place where the users of solutions, the suppliers of these solutions, and the various stakeholders can meet in a collaborative process at the stage of design, implementation, or monitoring of the solutions and their applications. So that's really fostering the development of knowledge, so stimulating environments, and in the same time, the place where the relevance of what's developed can be assessed and monitored. So more practically, what's foreseen in the work plan of Water for All, it's really based on what Andrea already introduced. The starting point is the previous work from Water Europe about the Atlas of Living Labs. So the methodology for the Atlas will be updated, and the Atlas itself of the water-oriented living labs will be updated every 2 years. We will connect the various living labs in a network and engage with the living labs to have them collaborate in such a network, so that we have a full network of test facilities where innovation can be tested and their impact can be boosted. With this, we'll try innovative tools for maximizing the use of the living labs. So this needs the specific tools need to be designed and developed in the course of the project, but we may use digital possibilities. Speaking of digital twins, for instance, for maximizing the access to infrastructures, we might design some specific voucher scheme to test to use living labs, opening, for instance, the living labs for PhD PhD thesis, or for SMEs to test their solutions, etc. So many mechanisms that we have in mind that we need to design more specifically and concretely. The second aspect is the support to the development of new living labs, trying to replicate the best practices in a variety of contexts, as I underlined, building on the lessons learned from the already ongoing living labs, and in particular assessing the modalities for engaging local actors and citizens and also the financial approaches for sustainable implementation of living labs, so that there's the value approach for living labs can be run in the long term. We might also in later years of the partnership issue calls for demonstration projects using living labs. And the last part of our activities planned in World for All is the support to market uptake, liaising with investors to have the mature innovations that will have been developed and tested connected to these investors. Well, we might also have investors directly related in the living labs, directly involved there. But yeah, have the innovations identified through the activities in Pillar D and on living labs, connected to investors, so that as many solutions as possible are developed on the field and supported with these investment programs. So an ambitious roadmap with many actors involved from now, and as I said, the intent is to have the consortium and its ecosystem developed over the years, so that we really achieve our mission to reduce the fragmentation of the research innovation landscape about water in Europe. That's it for now. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Olivier. It was a very comprehensive presentation of Water for All. So say that it's really ambitious. It's really ambitious. At the same time, I think that we are all committed in order to make it for real. And I mean, if we can, I mean, make a remark, and considering the ambition, considering the size, I mean, of the partnership in terms of partners and variety and diversity of the partners, seems to be, I mean, in a water-oriented living lab itself. So let's say that if we see this from this viewpoint, I think that we have a good chance, I mean, to be successful. So anyway, thank you so much, and thank you. I want, I mean, really to thank you also today, I mean, for all your efforts and support that you've been providing for in order to have this partnership really be, I mean, approved by the Commission and make it for real, for the benefit of our European society and beyond that. Now, and we have the last speaker of today before the panel discussion, and which is Diana Chavarra-Rinson. She's professor at the University of Twente in the Department of IC and Water Resources. So, I mean, from this point of view, I mean, I already see that, I mean, the connection between the digital transformation and the Green Deal, where water represents, let's say, the story, as Arnaud remarked before. I mean, that it's all about water. I mean, we go to climate, we go to resources. Once again, it's all about water. I mean, the water story is the cross-cutting issue, is the cross-cutting story within our society. So now I'm happy that you are with us today, and I'm keen, I mean, to give you the floor and start your presentation about a case about how a water-oriented living labs can develop between Europe and somewhere else beyond Europe. And let's see how this story goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So I will share my screen. Hopefully you are there. Are you?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So in the context of the water-oriented living labs introduced by Water Europe, I want to present what we have initially called Europe and Beyond Europe, a water-oriented living lab. This is an initiative of the Faculty RTC of the University of Twente. So let me first quickly introduce my faculty. the Faculty of Geoinformation Sciences and Earth Observations, ITC, of the University of Twente in the Netherlands. In the past, we used to be an independent institute of geoinformation and Earth observations dedicated to capacity building in less developed countries. Since 2010, we joined the University of Twente as a faculty, but we kept our original mission, which is to develop capacity by working in three main pillars: education, research, and institutional strengthening, for which we use geoinformation as the main driver, with the vision that special solutions in an application-oriented approach play an important role in addressing many of current global environmental and societal challenges. So in that sense, we are a bit of a special faculty, and this is excuse me, and this is important to emphasize now in this context. The faculty ITC has 6 scientific departments. One of them is the Department of Water Resources. This is a multidisciplinary team that combines quantitative remote sensing, in situ measurements, and observational models to understand the whole water cycle, and water in the context of or in relation with climate, energy and biochemical fluxes, food security, ecosystems, etc. At the Department of Water Resources, we maintain a number of observation sites to support the our research and education programs. Some of these observation sites are part of the global network. It's called Global Earth Observation System of Systems. In general, these observation sites are meant to monitor the state of the Earth. When I think about these sites, and I want to here relate to the official definition of a water-oriented living lab, I want to say that our sites are demo type research and innovation settings used mainly by our PhD and master students for research, but also in our external projects, and to support all this work in a real environment. They are water-related sets of installations designed to support different cross-sectoral nexus studies. For instance, water for food, as I already mentioned, and agriculture, water for urban use, water in the context of biodiversity, conservation, ecosystem services, tourist industry, etc. And they include a long list of the participation of different stakeholders. So for all these reasons, they can be considered water-oriented living labs. Among these, we have selected 3 for this initiative. The first one is the Statebuilding research site. This is located in the heart of the Netherlands, with a long history of environmental issues related to landscape transformation, etc. The site provides a long-term monitoring of key state variables related to hydrology, forest physiology, soil physics and chemistry, atmosphere, and others. The site has been used as a laboratory for different international campaigns and funded projects. Actually, there have been some breakthroughs in terms of, for instance, acid rain or isotope discrimination methods in hydrology, using this as a laboratory. Also has been used as a validation of products derived from satellite data. You can see here some of the activities there. The second site selected is the Twente soil moisture temperature network. Twente is a region in the east of the Netherlands, close to the German border, only a few kilometers from our university, which is very handy. It was originally established to provide in situ observations for the calibration and validation of satellite-based soil moisture products. It was part of the validation of, for instance, the SMOS mission from ESA or SMAP from NASA. But recently, and in view of the situation and taking the advantage of more than 12 years of continuous soil moisture measurements, is being used to monitor the droughts in this region of the country. Droughts are hitting badly, I think, large part of Europe. So this is a very, very serious situation. And it's being also used for the introduction of a decision support system as part of what we have called the Drought Resilient Initiative. So this is a intradepartmental initiative of ITC. The third site is the observation site located in the Lake Naivasha basin in Kenya. The Lake Naivasha is located approximately at 90 kilometers from Nairobi. Our faculty has a long history, around 20 years history of collaboration with different Kenyan and European stakeholders in that area. And for example, we have work on the introduction of integrated water resources management plans. And we have conducted several programs on capacity building for local partners. Interestingly, although very different in size, topography, and climate, these two, the 20 network and the Naivasha, they share something in common. The nature of the water-related problems in these two sites is quite similar. So water overconsumption resulting in depletion of the groundwater table, and they are both closed catchments with no possibility to get additional inputs, water inputs, and they are both delicate, vulnerable ecosystems, both part of conservation programs. As mentioned before, stakeholder involvement has been important in these three sites. Here you can see some of them. There is no continuous initiative running, but we have had different initiatives that some of them finished already. So this is the list of some of the stakeholders involved. So you can see by types, you can see water authorities like the Veluwe, for instance, in the Netherlands, water utility companies. We have governmental organizations like ministries. We have also conservation organizations, and of course, end users, for instance, in this case, the farmers in some of them. Of course, the academia, I think I missed that, but the academia and research institutes, we have some of our partners, I think some of them present in this meeting. Okay, so to explain a bit the rationale of this initiative, I want to quote some statements by Water Europe and the European Commission. And the first is that the digitalization of the water sector is a key enabler towards the water smart society, which will foster a European open, democratic, and sustainable society that works for the people. And our view is that air observation or air observation-based approaches are instrumental to the digitalization of water to accomplish or to achieve the goal of a water smart society. And as you can see, all of our approaches are based on air observations combined with in situ measurements. The second is related to our own mission that I mentioned at the beginning. So we think that air observations together with water-oriented living labs and observation models are essential to realistically understand water in relation to climate, energy, food, and ecosystems for addressing water-related challenges. And in the third one, I want to link with the programs of international collaboration, especially this is oriented to Africa. And for that, I want to quote the EU-Africa cooperation in RD. So as a strategic partner, the European Union seeks to enhance cooperation with Africa to promote actions targeted to finding locally adapted solutions to challenges that are global, we share these challenges, but somehow it often hit Africa hard. So our view is that this initiative, Europe and Beyond Europe, Water-Oriented Living Lab, will serve to this purpose. The expected outcomes, so will be the consolidation of historic in situ data sets from monitoring networks for the creation of a digital twin. So luckily we had an excellent explanation by Wim about the digital twins. Digital twins can replicate infrastructure, but also natural processes. So our digital twin will be based on real-time observations and modeling to monitor and predict climate extreme events. We will continue building capacity according to our mission in developing countries, making use of long-term monitoring data sets and our expertise, aiming at building a water smart digital sector, not only in Europe, but beyond. Sharing long-term experience in water management, the Dutch experience in water management is well known, and sharing, and we have had the opportunity to do that, for instance, approaches such as Room for the River, explaining in a real environment. That is very important. And of course, make use of the advantage of the site proximity to develop, test, and validate innovative approaches in the context of the green transformation to address Europe and Africa common challenges. Like now I mentioned the droughts. Also floods. Okay, this is an example of like a conceptual presentation of on observations and in situ measurements leading to a digital model to be able to predict certain events. Okay, this is just an example. The challenges, just to conclude, of course, the governance is always a challenge. So what it works for Europe may not work for Africa. And in that sense, we have some experience from previous initiatives, specifically in the Nevasha area. So it's fundamental to count on the commitment of stakeholders and give some sense of ownership. But this remains a big challenge. Of course, engaging multicultural stakeholders with different visions to our similar challenges is always complicated. So I think was mentioned in one of the presentations that the different view that the same situation may have. And of course, maintenance, funding for maintenance and operation of sites. This is very, very challenging because as we all know, an observation site cannot be like running by itself. So funding is always an issue. So this is in general terms our approach. So thank you very much for your attention. So I stop sharing now.
Many, many thanks, Diana. Crystal clear presentation and with extremely important points. And then you're right. I mean, when we go to governance, whatever works in a place might not work somewhere else. And this is the reason for which we need really to look at transformation, the green transformation, the digital transformation of Europe through proposal, water-rental living labs. So when it comes to water, as an holistic and systemic approach, which requires a lot of change, and changes are difficult to implement for real. So it's a matter of change in the governance structure, a matter of change in accepting and developing new technologies. It's a matter of changing the behavior of the members of our society. But now we can start this panel discussion with all the contribution that was really amazing from all of you. And I have a point I have a question that's made of multiple questions. Because we all know that in order to really go to the point, to achieve a water smart society, to have water secure, safe, be available at the right time, in the right quality, in the right quantity, and the right price as well. So there is really to be done a lot of efforts. But may I ask you, what do you see? What is the stronger pressure? What is really urgent to solve? Is it a matter of legislation? Is it a matter of policy? Is it a matter of technology? Is it a matter of looking at the infrastructures for water? Is it a matter of nexus? Is it a matter of being the business environment ready for this? Is it a matter of citizen engagement? So who can start responding to this multiple layer question?
Andre, if I may.
Yes, sure. You're welcome.
Well, this is from experience, so it's limited. But what I experience is that there is and this is of course classical, and we know it. There's a wealth of information, a wealth of data, but to combine it into, for instance, and it's not only about climate change, but in my country here in the Netherlands, it's about making effective use of all the data and information available, and in a way to be traceable, to use that English word, in the way we talk with stakeholders about possible futures, because that is what we're talking about. So we want to be honest to society about what the future brings in climate change and water. And of course, in the Netherlands, that's a key issue. But we need to have a traceable discussion, in the sense that we are talking about the same data, we're looking at the same options, and we arrive to shared conclusions. And then, of course, a different option what to do, but at least that we are at par. So inhabitants, politicians, civil servants, scientists, on what we are discussing. That already is a big challenge. The example I gave of this cluster rain, we projected into an area of the Netherlands. Some of the people could not believe that that could be the result of something real. And now it is real, because it happened in Germany. It can happen here. So sharing and then scenario planning. And of course, this is a minor aspect of the wealth of examples you can give. But I think that a water-oriented living lab, and some of the speakers and panelists said the same, discussing together shared visions of the future. That would already be a big gain, I would say. And then, of course, we may need additional legislation or constructs, or what do you have, but at least sharing and agreeing on what are the facts and what are the options.
Thank you very much, Wim. Any other comments on this?
I can take the floor. I mean, obviously, all the questions that you mentioned, Andrea, are really important questions, and that's the challenge. We have so many entry points that we could use. We have to know where to start, and Waterfall has been designed precisely to be able to work concurrently in on these various aspects. If I had to state a single or a master word for the current challenges, and meeting Wim's comments, our keyword would be scattering of the landscape, scattering of the data, scattering of the actors, scattering of the solutions, and so to put it in a positive way, the challenge ahead of us is to concentrate the actors, concentrate the data, so that they can be effectively used. I completely support Wim's point about the lack of the insufficient application of existing knowledge and data. And for a number of reasons, we do not make the most of what is already available. So improving this actual use, and make the most of what's already known, what's already developed, what's already available should be a priority.
That's true. I mean, thank you so much. And I would like also to highlight that in Waterfall, there's another pillar which is extremely important, which is the policy science interface. I mean that it is important that, particularly for the water sector, I mean, this is valid for each and every sector in our society, if we want to make it really sustainable in the long run, financially and societal sustainable, is that we need really to connect science, technology, and policy. Otherwise, I mean, that if we have in different speeds, the result that we aspire to achieve, and the support that we can have also from the policy and the legislation might not match as we expect or as we wish. So this is also an additional effort, the Water for All, in which water-oriented living labs are fully say engaged, because in the water entity living labs, we can have really can also create this interface at water entity living lab level. And that what I see, and it is not science fiction, and taking advantages of what Wim said, the opportunity of using the digital twin technology and approach to create also a stable dialogue between water entity living labs, not only within them, within each and every living lab, but beyond that. It is important because it can really support a systemic and holistic approach in order to solve the challenges of the water and water-related issues. I have one more question. I'm sorry, but I'm stalking you today, and I was very much interested and really fascinated by the matter that the cities and the industries are both running on parallel ways in order to make the resources available, sustainable, and particularly when it comes into the water story. But how these two areas can, in practice, collaborate, cooperate, and create the synergies in order to make it for real at urban, industrial, mixed environment. Can digital twin can also support here?
Yeah, if I can start. Yeah, definitely. I think the first step will be to talk with each other. Very often, the larger industries and the cities, we have some discussions, but we don't go into depth. I think definitely projects like Digital Twin or other projects, as you've seen the case in for the industry that was presented by Mikel, it was also European driven. So I think it's talking together with a specific concrete project that we can drive us forward, and then integrate that with the digital twin will be interesting to see how they can be part of the ecosystem that we try to demonstrate, or try to show or mimic with the digital twin. So yeah, I think that will be. I think industry is a good example as the others, that we have to find new ways of getting in each other's ecosystems and seeing the links that we obviously have and acting on them. I think digital twin might be a good facilitator to show, to quantify a little bit. So okay, this is part of our water balance that you are in here. How can we connect? But I'm sure Miguel from the experience in Spain can add on.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Arnaud. No, I completely agree with what you said. I think that, as it has been said before, dialogue is important, and I completely agree that we have to speak sometimes when we compare the way to proceed. And I think that a digital twin, in the way that probably will be able to show to the public administration, to the politicians, to the people who is involved in policy, that probably will help to show something in advance, in a virtual way, but in advance, and probably it will help in foresee what will happen in the future. In the Mediterranean area, we have a big problem with climate change, with floodings too, but basically because we have very strong storms now, but also with water scarcity. And project in Tarragona started many years ago, basically because of the strong drought periods. So the critical situation was the fact that brought politicians and industries and citizens to talk together about the problem. If digital twin in some way can show in advance, before we have the problem that will happen, for sure it can be very helpful. And I think that this is a very strong, powerful tool. So probably, I mean, people will believe and will be confident on the results of digital twin, because it's today we can be confident on these tools. And I think it can help a lot. It can help a lot, because otherwise we have the two speeds and we need like a disaster to take an action. So let's try to be in advance.
is, I mean, to prevent disasters, because this
Yeah.
is the best way to work. Yeah, and it seems that so far we are not being able I mean, to prevent disasters, in particular with the water sector and the climate change, I mean, so efficiently. I've also a number of questions coming from the audience. For instance, I mean, there is a question about why not integrating, I mean, living labs at teaching level. So it means, I mean, to bring a water-oriented living lab in. That's it's a very good remark, because we need also to create and support the creation of new skills. So skill development is important in the water sector, not only in the water sector, but I'd say that maybe that the water sector is one of those sectors where skill development needs a bit more attention, particularly in the view of the most recent technologies, and also in the view of the possible innovative models for the management of water, which really require different approaches that starts from creating new professionals for the water sector. There is another question that, I mean, it's about the IT observation. This is for Diana, how the IT observation team connects to the implementation of solutions. If you want to.
Yes. Yeah. Well, first of all, so far these initiatives are actually funded projects in which we have local stakeholders. So this is more a multidisciplinary team in which we provide the know-how, but of course, implementation of solutions need commitments of stakeholders and in a dialogue. They are also part of normally they are also part of capacity development initiatives. So we share experiences. We can provide, for instance, a digital twin to support, for instance, to create, for instance, a decision support system. But finally, at the end, is up to the local stakeholders to take initiatives on the implementation. So you can't actually impose, right? So you provide the know-how, the tools, and the data, the expertise. But yeah. And at that respect, I also want to add that it's very important to create certain boundary conditions in such a way that each stakeholder feels ownership, but also roles and responsibilities are well defined in order to make this successful. I don't know if that answered the question. I hope so.
I think so. Thank you so much. We have very few minutes left. And I think that I might invite Dirk to wrap up this event. It was extremely interesting.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. And thank you to all the speakers for the very interesting interventions. It will be quite a challenge, I think, to summarize such a multitude of information, but I will do my best attempt. I think, firstly, I think we've seen that there is a vision for a sustainable way to manage water in our society, in line with the twin transition to a green and digital Europe. And it's called a water smart society. The vision concept developed by Water Europe in its water vision from 2017. And that water-oriented living labs are really, I would say, the key vehicle to drive and implement that water vision for a water smart society. Also, we've seen that water-oriented living labs are really defined as innovation ecosystems that promote the co-creation, testing, and evaluation of innovation in representative real-life environments with the ultimate goal of realizing a water-smart society. And Wim has shown us really in his presentation that digital twins can really be a key instrument for scenario planning and identification of options, and of course, involving citizens. I think he also very nicely showed that, I would say, what we do in Europe actually has an impact. Yeah, he nicely refers to the Brussels effect. It could also be called the effect that what the EU has as, I would say, unique global legislator, yeah, through basically its soft power. So I think really Europe has to teach an example there. Arnoud showed us that really local government is ideally placed to spearhead the implementation of a water smart society and to take the lead with the implementation of WOLLs. Miguel showed us that WOLLs are also an ideal instrument to set up context for industrial symbiosis, which has both economic benefits for companies, but also very important environmental and social benefits for society as a whole. And Oliver showed us that the key role of water-oriented living labs in the Water for All partnership, and to see how we can develop and evolve water-oriented living labs. Then Diana gave us some very nice examples, I think, of potential living labs across the globe. And to conclude, some keywords that I picked up, I think the real keywords that we've heard today is, of course, green, digital, which was to be expected, but also the importance of partnerships and interdependencies. Right? I think partnerships are also very important here, because also already Miguel showed us also the role that SDGs have to play here. And of course, SDG 7 is an SDG particularly dedicated to partnerships. So we also see a really strong link here with the implementation of the SDG agenda. So what's up next? Andrea already introduced, I would say, the Atlas of Water-Oriented Living Labs, with which we, I would say, took a first step in bringing about the concept of water-oriented living labs. Right now, we're on the brink of launching our new Water-Oriented Living Labs notebook series, yeah, which will be formally launched in the next few weeks. Andrea already gave you some hints on the content, the methodology that we have developed there. So shortly, the first 2 publications under this notebook series will be published. The first one will be a literature study on the concept of living labs, and a justification for the methodology that we have chosen to build the concept for water-oriented living labs. In the second publication, we will show you on how to assess and evolve water-oriented living labs. And in the future, by the end of the year, we will also come up with a third type of publication that will see how you can really match the WOLLs methodology with the Water Europe vision, yeah, to come up with a concept which we will call Water Europe Living Labs, which are really best practice cases, yeah, of water-oriented living labs, yeah, in line with the water vision. And also we will provide in-depth studies of them, yeah, to see what makes them so good and how they have become sustainable. Yeah. Oliver also already introduced Water for All. Water for All will, of course, also play a very important role in, I would say, bringing the whole water-oriented living labs concept further. In the context of Water for All, we will continue to evolve the Atlas of Water-Oriented Living Labs. We will build a network of water-oriented living labs, which will also allow these different water-oriented living labs to exchange with each other and to learn from each other. Yeah? And it will also support the creation of new living labs, for example, by putting them in contact with investment programs. I think it's been really a very great session. Yeah, I want to thank all the speakers for the excellent work they did, and particularly also for Andrea for guiding us through this whole development of the water-oriented living labs concept. Yeah, but also for organizing this session. The presentations will, of course, be made available to you all. I've also seen questions about whether it's possible to have access to a video recording. For sure, the video recording is available online already through LinkedIn, because parallel to this, I would say, event, which was where you are participating mostly through Zoom, it has also been broadcasted on LinkedIn and Twitter, which is there, of course, to stay. So if you really want to review certain elements of today's discussion, please go to Twitter or go to LinkedIn, and there you can review the whole discussion that we've had today. So with that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. And please stay tuned for the formal publication of our 2 next editions in our Water-Oriented Living Labs notebook series. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.